Inspire, educate, and equip. That's what T.REX Arms is about. So the motto is to inspire, educate, and equip. So essentially what we do is we try to produce thought-provoking content, educational content that inspires people to understand their obligations to God and country and their responsibilities. Then we produce content to further educate them on how that works, what that looks like, and how they can do that effectively. Then we equip them with the equipment necessary so that they can fulfill those obligations and those responsibilities with maximum effectiveness.
But in order for people to fulfill their responsibilities, not only do they need the tools, but they need the freedom to be able to do so. And that's one of the reasons that we're very firm on our position on the Second Amendment. And we would like to use some of the resources and opportunities that we have to fight for those things and try to preserve the rights of the individual to have the tools and the equipment that they need to fulfill the responsibilities that they've been given by God.
Because we have customers who live in a world that continues to evolve. The threats change, the clothing styles change, the weapons that are available change, and tactics and training, it changes over time. And so we want to continue improving the way that we serve our customers.
And so we are hugely grateful to that customer base. I think they were picking up on some of what we were communicating about what we believed about the Second Amendment and freedom and liberty and responsibility. But at the end of the day, what I have to say is God fought for us.
The sixth commandment in the Bible is, "Thou shalt not murder."
Every commandment has a positive and a negative aspect. There's something that's forbidden, but there's also an implied responsibility or a positive action that must be taken. And that positive aspect is the preservation of innocent life.
And T.REX Arms is a Sixth Commandment company. We're trying to equip people to preserve life and to protect life. That means the tools that they need, but also the education on how to use those tools, and also the mindset on why they should be preserving life and how it is their responsibility to do so.
But when you build a company based on God's principles or on the scriptures, there's something different about that. And it's very unique. And that's one of the things I love about working here, is that I know where the truth is coming from. It's not just being made up randomly. There's always a purpose and a foundation to it with what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it.
And so that's why we're interested not just in holsters, but medical gear. Nearly every package that goes out, unless it's a t-shirt or a hat, has something in it that may very well be involved in saving someone's life. The very first holster Lucas ever made actually ended up being used to stop an assault.
So I started T.REX Arms. I I was 19 years old. I didn't really know what I was going to be doing with my life. I was a volunteer firefighter. I was looking into being a paramedic, and my older brothers, Isaac and David, had bought some kydex, and I was designing some equipment for myself that I wanted for just some of my own personal training at a DPM SAR with a 22 conversion bolt. So I was working on mag carriers. I wasn't even making holsters. And it was actually my parents who encouraged me to sell some stuff on eBay to see how it would sell. So T.REX Arms wasn't on the horizon. A company wasn't on the horizon. And my fire chief actually asked if I would make him a Glock 17 holster. I made this completely with hand tools. I did not have bandsaws. I did not have, good sanders. I didn't have buffing wheels, so I had to use a hacksaw. But it was literally within a couple months of him having this and wearing it and using it, he came home one day and there was a home intruder in his house. He drew down on the guy and he held him until law enforcement arrived. So it was at that moment, reading that in the newspaper and him texting me and telling me that had happened, that I realized that the product that I was already making was having a positive impact on people's lives. So for about $1,000, T.REX Arms was started with an Instagram page from an iPod Touch and just some basic kydex, a couple blue guns, and a WordPress theme.
So he started in October, and within a few months, he actually had enough sales that he hired me. So I came on and I started making holsters, and then a few months later, we hired my brother-in-law, David Knorr.
When I started in 2014, I was using the original toaster oven. And the cycle times were way different summer and winter because we had no heat, we had no AC. We were still doing everything with blue guns that were taped.
And everything just kind of ticked along. There was some growth and the sales plateaued for a while.
So I was pretty happy after about 6 months, 8 months of the company trucking along, getting the amount of sales we were getting, and there were 3 or 4 of us in the shop. It was very manageable. But it wasn't until David kind of came to me and said, do you want this company to stay small, or do you really want to take it big time and actually make it a company that can produce more product and affect more people?
We knew a lot of people who needed jobs. We knew other young people who wanted to get married but needed some stable income. We knew neighbors that were in this fairly economically depressed county.
So prayed about that a lot, talked with them about what that would look like, and it was about a month or 2 later that we decided, yes, let's do this. Let's make this a larger company that can have a bigger impact on people where we can work together.
And so we did that. And from there, that's really when the growth started to take off in a big, big way.
Well, when I saw the shop the first time, they were making literally hundreds of holsters in a building the size of my garage.
So Luke and David Knorr were doing a lot of holster development and coming up with new ideas for holsters. And one of the products that we developed, specifically because Luke and David Knorr wanted it, was the sidecar.
At the time that it first came out, it was the holster that allowed people to conceal a full-size firearm with a weapon light and a spare mag and do it in normal garments.
I was 21, I was carrying a Glock 19 with an RMR and an Inforce, I want to say, and I had an extended Glock 17 mag. And I was much skinnier than I am now, which I know is hard to believe. But that's what I was carrying. And I wanted to be able to carry a full-size gun all the time. I didn't want to have to carry a single stack because of the summer or whatever. I wanted to make a holster that was accessible so I can get to the gun very quickly and also carry a gun that's actually a good fighting weapon.
So in a lot of ways, the sidecar really represents our company values, our core values. We prioritize fighting capacity above convenience, quality above economy. And so it's an interesting picture of our company in a single product, in a little nutshell.
As the sidecar took off and grew as a product, it really attracted to us the kind of customers that were also interested in concealing duty-grade firearms.
So orders were pouring in, and finding staff it's not always been easy to find people and train them up and get them in the company.
We did a lot of optimizations in our efficiency. We hired people and trained them, but there's a limit to how fast you can hire and train. And so at some point we realized we had to go to automation. That's the only solution for a lot of these products. And we didn't know anything about CNC machines and how to set up an automated production line. But my brother Isaac knew about half of what was needed.
We bought a used one and began to learn how they worked. And the first thing that we cut on the CNC machine was a jig that would allow us to drill our older belt loops, and that let the machine start to pay for itself while we learned how to make holster molds so that we could begin vacuum forming. So once we were able to make those vacuum forms in-house, we were able to improve the fit of the holsters considerably, and then we were able to drill and cut those on the machine, which improved consistency and improved fit and also improved speed.
It really does let us train people up faster to make consistent quality holsters. Continuous improvement is an ideal that we are striving towards.
So we're always in the process of trying to improve everything at T.REX Arms. So not just the products, but customer service as well. And then one of the areas was obviously our marketing and some of the materials that we were making. So partly for the marketing, but also mostly just I wanted to present good educational information to people, but that required that I started studying, started working more. So I started shooting a lot more at that time.
We want to be expanding our media work, so not only training videos, but more education on all kinds of topics that relate to this mission that we have.
I've known Charles for a long time, and just working with him for the past 6 years, his own abilities in filming, being able to chase me with a gimbaled Sony, we're able to capture some video that there's just not a lot of camera guys in the industry that are able to do, has been amazing for T.REX Arms as far as raising standards and some of the content that we produce.
There's a lot of gun companies out there, and their desire is to equip their customers. And there's other people out there, trainers, and their desire is to educate their customers. We want to do more than that. We want to inspire our customers. We want to teach them about liberty and about freedom and the principles that America is built on.
So at T.REX, we're very fortunate that we have products that are very closely associated with the mission and very closely associated with the work that we're trying to do. So we'll come out with a product and that will spur on some training initiatives. The training initiatives will put us in touch with some people who will provide us with some more insight or some more things that they're looking for, like the training targets.
And so it's interesting to see the progression of that going from just Kydex holsters, which is how we started, to now training targets that are being used for CQB, for some very high-level people to help them preserving life, once again, threats and non-threats, being able to process between the two. So it's just been really interesting. T.REX Arms is not just a holster company.
So we don't ever let the gun dictate when we fire. We're in full control of the gun.
Generally speaking, people usually run an IR laser.
I can also select laser only, I can select illuminator only, and then I can do both.
At this point, I dismount the gun and bring the gun back.
Depends on target size, target distance, and target opportunity, whether I'm going to focus on my front sight or whether I'm going to focus on the target.
We've always been really happy when we're able to support military or law enforcement guys with the tools that they need for their work in upholding the law and defending the country. But those are your responsibilities too.
We talk very openly about the Second Amendment and our belief that these, citizen responsibility in protecting the country, protecting other people is something that's very important to us.
It's the right to keep and bear arms. And arms has a significant historic definition as weapons of offense and armor for defense and protection of the body. But there's relatively little access to armor as a product and information about armor. And so we wanted to get into that because we're trying to support the entirety of the Second Amendment.
We would like to use some of the resources and opportunities that we have to fight for those things and try to preserve the rights of the individual to have the tools and the equipment that they need to fulfill the responsibilities that they've been given by God.
Something that I started doing in 2019 is being much more outspoken about that. And it's kind of going back to that passions changing from originally it was the gear and the Kydex, starting the company, and there was more in the training and the shooting. And then in 2019 it started being more advocacy and cultural reform with Second Amendment and sort of the mindset surrounding that.
So this year we actually managed to run a bill. We got it sponsored and by God's grace it passed. We were actually to get it into law. And we did this for a couple reasons. We wanted to try to improve the political state of our state. And we wanted to set an example for people that they could do some lobbying as well. They could actually try to change things.
We view this company not ultimately as belonging to us. It's a stewardship because God gives the growth, God brings the customers, God gives us strength and health and life and breath, God gives us ideas, God gives safety every day on the range or driving to and from work. And so really our job is just to take and use everything God has given us to the maximum for Him.
it's obvious that God has brought the increase. God has brought the customers, God has brought the opportunities, God has opened the doors and provided the team. There's no way that we can take credit for that.
So T.REX Arms would not be what it is today without the people behind it. The amount of excellence that's going on in every single area in the shop is incredible.
The diversity of skills and abilities and even personalities and mindset with how we approach problems is hugely complementary. And I really think that's one of the things that makes T.REX work.
And so where we are today is we have an amazing team of diversely talented people that if I had sat down and tried to draw it out on paper 5 years ago, I never would have come up with half of what we've got now. It's just amazing.
Really, I was a human resources manager in the military. Other than being an F-18 pilot, what I mostly did was take care of Marines, people, thousands of them. And coming to T.REX initially, I thought, well, I'm going to be making holsters, operating a CNC machine, sure. But the challenge was there, the opportunity as the company grew to do a lot more. And I saw that, I think, from the beginning, that I wasn't here just to make holsters. I was here for another reason, and I didn't really know what that was at the time. What I've realized now in the last 2.5 years is that the Lord has really brought together a team of people here that I don't think any one or two of us could have foreseen.
But now that they're here, it's just tremendous to see what they bring on the skills level, on the character level, on the passion level, and on the just motivating everybody else on the team to continue to strive for excellence.
And one of the interesting parts is, this is all very new to us. Like, none of us are expert businessmen, none of us are expert CEOs. We're not former Red Bull CEOs that the board brings in to run the company. This is all new to us. We're still learning things. I'm not a very good CEO, and some of us are still learning our own, how to operate in our own areas of responsibility. And it's been really interesting all working together, learning this process together, and having people like Colonel Dahl. He's come alongside me multiple times and said, hey, here's some leadership things that you need to understand being the CEO of the company. And so I've tried to take that and then execute on those. So it's been a really cool journey for all of us, learning the responsibilities that we have and also gaining responsibility as the company continues to grow, as we continue to hire employees, and really seeing how all of us are going together and working together.
The most useful thing, I think, for the whole company of T.REX is that people are together on the mission. And even though we discuss a lot, actually, the different ways that we should be accomplishing the mission, all the different things that we could do that are related to the mission, what the mission is something that people are together on. And that unity is tremendously helpful, but also tremendously enjoyable.
But we're all very involved in the grand mission and the sort of the vision of the company. Just everyone down to, well, pretty much everybody in the company. And that's probably the coolest thing about T.REX Arms right now.
I'm excited to see new people coming on board and the people that are here growing into positions of more responsibility. The bottom line is they're growing and learning how to deal with people, and that they're realizing that a company like this isn't just really about the products, it's about the people and the customers.
So T.REX Arms obviously wouldn't be the company it is without the team behind it, but it also wouldn't be the company that it is without the awesome customers that we have. And something that I really appreciate about the people that have come and supported our company over these past few years is they're not just people that just buy the product. They're people that buy the product and they actually go out and use it and they educate the people around them. So I want to thank all of you guys who've supported our company but are also continuing in the mission on your own as an individual, because that is our responsibility. It's about other people and it's about spreading the message, it's about spreading education, and individuals can do that. So I'm very grateful to our customer base, for doing that and continuing the mission themselves.